Agency, featuring Erie Insurance for auto, home, business, and life insurance. The Walton Ebert Agency has offices in Cressona, Fraggville, and Tamaqua and can be reached at 1-800-877-8909 or waltonebert.com.
You're listening to Family Life, a friend you can turn to. 91.5 WCDH Shenandoah. In Bloomsburg, listen on 98.9 FM. In Lewisburg, listen on 104.7 FM.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Fight to the Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast.
Democrats are on defense and Republicans on the ascent.
It is election eve and a last-ditch get-out-the-vote effort is underway across America. Political pundit Mark Thiessen.
We've been hearing, is it going to be a red wave? Is it going to be a red tsunami? I think it's going to be a red hurricane.
Republicans need a net gain of 5 seats to take back the House, just 1 to reclaim the Senate. President Biden trying to keep that from happening.
This election isn't a referendum, it's a choice.
As campaign 2022 heads down the home stretch, both parties are bringing in the big guns.
Go home, get off your couch and do what? This Tuesday, you must vote Republican in a giant red wave.
In Pennsylvania's hotly contested U.S. Senate race, the candidates continue to make their closing arguments.
Abortion is now on the ballot in this race. If we do this all together, we will win big time on Tuesday.
Another contest to keep a close eye on tomorrow is Georgia's U.S. Senate race, where a former football player hopes to flip a blue seat red.
Put me in there, Coach. I'm ready to play.
Political commentator Elisha Krauss says those who go to bed early tomorrow night may miss out. She says some West Coast contests could go down to the wire.
There are some very fascinating races, and I think a lot of people, they kind of see what happens on the East Coast,
Yes.
and then they turn off the TV. But this year, there's a chance that some of these races that we are assuming are going to be easy are not that easy.
Correspondent Ashley Strohmeyer says pocketbook issues are what will drive voters to the polls on Tuesday.
Inflation and the economy are still dominating Americans' top concerns headed into the midterms. A new ABC Washington Post poll shows 80% say the economy is the top issue.
Democratic strategist Hillary Rosen says her party is not focused where they need to be, and that, she says, will cost them at the ballot box.
I'm a loyal Democrat, but I am not happy. I just think that we did not listen to voters in this election, and I think we're going to have a bad night. When voters tell you over and over and over again that they care mostly about the economy, listen to them.
All 435 House seats, 35 Senate contests, and 36 governorships are up for grabs tomorrow. Reporter Bree Jackson.
In our latest NBC News poll, election enthusiasm is now dead even at 73% for both Republicans and Democrats.
America on pace to set a new voting record for a midterm. Already more than 40 million ballots have been cast. Pollster Anthony Salvanto talks about the impact of early voting.
I expect that's going to be about half of all votes cast. So we've hit about 40 million. Might go up as many as 60 million when all is said and done before we get to tomorrow morning. And then we're expecting right now near record turnout. Could hit around 120 million. Democrats use the advance vote. They use mail voting, and they try to build up a lead. When I look at the advance vote, yes, in a lot of places, Democrats seem to have a slight lead, but is it big enough is the question. And I think that electorate looks a little bit older than perhaps Democrats would like. And I think if they need to get that youth vote out there, they're going to be playing catch up a little bit come Tuesday.
That is pollster Anthony Salvanto. Our election eve coverage continues with correspondent Linda Kenyon, who tells us what the vote tomorrow means for the second half of President Biden's first term.
UVA Center for Politics Director Larry Sabato says if Republicans take even one House, President Biden would have to scale back his agenda.
He'd issue a lot of executive orders.
And says Sabato, he'd appoint acting secretaries who would not need Senate confirmation. CBS News political contributor Leonard Steinhorn says expect investigations if Republicans are in charge.
They could potentially bring up articles of impeachment, which some Republicans have talked about.
But if Democrats maintain power, Sabato says he expects they would bring up a federal rights law for starters.
Linda Canyon in Washington. Polls are open from 6 a.m. until 9 p.m. tomorrow in New York. And in Pennsylvania, you have from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. to cast your ballot. Still to come on the Noon Report for a Monday, Hochul versus Zeldin, undecided in Pennsylvania, and how crime will shape the vote tomorrow. Well, good afternoon. The week is off to a nice start weather-wise. Where do we go from here? I'll have forecast details coming up. We'll see you in about 10 minutes. All right, looking forward to it. Thank you, Kevin. And checking the stories making news across New York and Pennsylvania next. New York Governor Kathy Hochul and her Republican challenger Lee Zeldin are making the final rounds today ahead of tomorrow's vote.
You want to protect our environment? Then just vote Democrat.
This is a campaign about us being able to restore New York to glory.
Western New York political strategist Carl Calabrese does not believe the polls that show Hochul out in front.
I believe the polling industry has gone the way of a lot of industries in this country. They've gone woke. They've become part of the political machine of Democrats, and they put out garbage polls.
Calabrese says a week before the 1994 midterms, the polls showed George Pataki trailing Mario Cuomo by 15 points. Pataki went on to beat Cuomo and is still today the last Republican governor of New York. Zeldin, who hopes to become the next one, is campaigning today in New York City. Hochul is in her old stomping grounds of Erie County, New York, for a last-ditch get-out-the-vote rally. Former President Bill Clinton is mocking Zeldin for making crime his top election priority.
He makes it sound like Kathy Hochul gets up every morning, goes to the nearest subway stop, and hands out billy clubs and baseball bats to everybody gets on the subway.
New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney.
She is basically handing out weapons. People are committing crimes all across the state. This is a disaster, and that's why you see so many lifelong Democrats turning to Lee Zeldin.
Republicans point to the recent murder of a Buffalo mother as proof that cashless bail needs of her children by her estranged husband, a man that should have been behind bars, says GOP congressional candidate Nick Langworthy.
Kiera would be alive today but for the laws of New York State.
Zeldin told supporters in Western New York on Sunday that the handcuffs should be on the criminals and not on the criminal justice system. Lots of undecided still in Pennsylvania. Ahead of tomorrow's closely watched U.S. Senate contest, WJAC TV beat the street in State College to see where voters stand in the race between Don Fetterman and Dr. Mehmet Oz.
Are you decided or undecided?
Undecided. I'm undecided. I'm a decided voter.
I'm undecided.
I'd say I'm decided. I'm pretty decided as well.
By who to vote for? I'm probably undecided right now.
Frankly, I don't like either candidate, and as of now, I'd rather vote for nobody than two bad options.
I truly don't know where I stand, so I don't feel like I should vote if I don't know. For this election, for me, there is absolutely a decided candidate that I should vote for.
Whenever I'm in the ballot box, I'm in there for 30 minutes on my phone doing research and then finally just biting the bullet and deciding.
I'm confident in the elections process.
I have my doubts, but I believe in the system, and I think we'll get there eventually.
Just a sampling of what some of you are saying on this election eve. The Pennsylvania Secretary of State is warning, do not expect a winner tomorrow night. She says because of the way the Commonwealth counts ballots, it could be a while before a winner is declared in the Fetterman-Oz race. One of the congressional races to watch tomorrow is in the lower Hudson Valley. Democrat Sean Patrick Maloney trying to save his congressional seat.
This race is razor close, and I think everybody who cares about the extreme in this MAGA movement, the racism, the anti-Semitism, the violence, needs to get out and vote.
Republican challenger Mike Lawler says lawlessness is why he will win.
We need to get crime under control. People don't feel safe in New York because they're not safe. And the reality is the Democrats have failed to do anything about it, and they own this mess. And that's why they're going to lose on Tuesday.
The 17th Congressional District labeled a toss-up by the Cook Political Report. Other news this Monday afternoon, the Buffalo Bills still licking their wounds after yesterday's tough loss to the New York Jets. Mike Catalano with Wham Sports.
This was a division loss for the Bills. They're second in 2 tries. When it was over, the Bills sure realized the position they put themselves in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every game is paramount, especially in the division, and we have a little hole to dig ourselves out in the division.
We got a target on our back. We're going to get everybody's best shot, and if we don't have our A game that day, this is the result we're going to get.
And if you want one other thing to worry about, Josh Allen might have injured his elbow. He said it was painful, but he'll be okay. Sean McDermott said he still needs to look at it.
The Bills' loss with Randy in sports. Sirens sounded through the streets of Sayre Sunday as crews responded to a fatal house fire in the northern tier. The Bradford County, Pennsylvania coroner is investigating. 1 man and 1 woman were killed in that blaze, which broke out before sunrise. The house was fully engulfed when firefighters arrived. A shooting rampage rocked a small Pennsylvania community over the weekend. Family Life's Mark Webster reports.
The Lycoming County Coroner's Office says 4 people, including the shooter, died in a Saturday morning incident in Jordan Township. State police say the shooter, Brian Taylor, shot his wife, Linda, after a domestic dispute, then drove to the home of his sister, Andrea Meek, and shot her as well, along with the 3rd victim, Jerry Zaring. Police say Brian Taylor fired at several homes and vehicles as well before being fatally shot by police, who will now try to piece together what prompted the deadly rampage. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you, Mark. New York motorists feeling the pain at the pump again. AAA says the average price for regular unleaded in New York is now $3.87 a gallon. That's 19 cents more than last month. And in Pennsylvania, the gas pains are even more pronounced. Regular unleaded now above $4 a gallon, $4.07 to be precise. That's 21 cents higher than a month ago. There's been a dramatic increase in students with cell phones in school, and local superintendents don't really know what to do about it. Mark Laurie runs the Niagara Falls School District.
Cell phones in classrooms, quite honestly, are very difficult and a challenging proposition. I think, however, it is more challenging, especially at the high school level, to try to ban them.
Michael Cornell, superintendent of the Hamburg Central School District.
We've always taken the position at Hamburg High School where it's really a conversation with kids about time and place, about cell phone etiquette. We want our kids to be successful after they graduated from high school. And if we don't give them the opportunity to exercise good decision making, when they leave high school, and they're more likely to replicate a bad decision.
However, others say cell phones cause more problems than they solve, and we'll be digging into this a little bit later on our Issues in Education segment. Authorities still don't know what caused several dozen students to become ill at an eastern Pennsylvania charter school. That sickness prompted an evacuation of the school on Friday. 48 children and adults got sick at the Lehigh Valley Academy. Fire and hazmat crews were called to the school, but were unable to find anything in the building that might have caused the illness outbreak. A church in northeastern Pennsylvania held a coat drive recently to help out war-torn Ukraine. The Peckville Assembly of God collecting the jackets over the course of 5 weeks. Those coats are now on their way to the orphans' hands in Tennessee.
These coats that this great church and many across the country have given, over 15,000 so far, are going to be the difference in life and death for many, many people.
Philip Cameron says the jackets are at a warehouse in Tennessee and are ready to be shipped to Ukraine. A new farm-to-table restaurant is opening this week at the Arnett Mall in Big Flats, New York. Co-owner Samantha Hernandez says Ella's Acres focuses on fresh food straight from the farm.
There's not a lot of places that offer healthy food, fresh food, and the feedback that we've received, especially with the younger generation, is that people want to kind of get back to that. They want to be closer to their food. They don't want to be eating all these chemicals and all this other stuff that they don't know what is.
The restaurant will officially open on Friday near Regal Cinemas in the Arnott Mall. Ella's Acres offers sandwiches, soups, and salads, as well as other homemade goodies. The always fresh midday sportscast up next. You're listening to the Noon Report on Family Life.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, it was not a good day for Josh Allen and company, and a big part of the reason why, the New York Jets defense. Allen did rush for 86 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he also was picked off twice, and the Jets upset the Bills 20-17. New York quarterback Zach Wilson came in with a game plan, and he worked it to perfection, throwing mostly short passes. He went 18 for 25 for 154 yards and a touchdown and no interceptions. Michael Carter rushed for 76 yards and a score in the win. Elsewhere in the NFL, your winners were the Chargers, Dolphins, Bengals, Lions, Patriots, Vikings, Jags, Seahawks, Bucks, and Chiefs. Kansas City winning last night in overtime against Tennessee, 20-17. On the ice, the New York Rangers raced out to a 2-0 lead on goals by Capo Kakko and Mika Zibanejad. They both scored in the first period, but Detroit evened things up with 2 goals of their own in the second. No one scored in the third. And then the Red Wings scored in the overtime period. 3-2 your final. Toronto and Florida also skated to victory. In NASCAR, Joey Logano is your Cup champion. Logano dominated yesterday's race in Phoenix to capture his second career title. He joins Kyle Busch as the only active drivers to win multiple Cups. And some news from baseball. Coming out of New York, the Mets are bringing back their closer Edwin Diaz with a big contract. 5 years, $102 million. Diaz become first closer in the game to receive a 9-figure contract. That is a look at sports.
All right, thank you very much, Randy. And still to come on the Noon Report, the races to watch tomorrow. We need the rain, but will we get it? Kevin Williams in 4 minutes, and Dr. Ralph Kerr at the Teaching and Learning Institute talking issues in education. What's happening in the classroom? We'll dig in coming up.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. A tragic trend the past few years is the explosion in the number of young people who identify as transgender or non-binary. At the same time, corporations, educators, and the media are promoting this new and harmful ideology of gender confusion en masse, all while social media influencers are actively grooming young people. While it can take time for a counter-revolution to emerge, there are signs of life. One example is the popularity of the recent documentary, What is a Woman?, which challenges the tenets of trans ideology by asking, well, basic questions. Another is filmmaker Donald J. Johnson's latest production called Disconnected. It examines the ways that transgender ideology pulls young people, especially an epidemic of young women, apart from their bodies, their families, and from reality itself. Johnson's film features an impressive lineup of thinkers and stories. Some of those that he interviews have experienced and in some cases turned away from the same trans road that many are traveling today. Combined with a robust theology of the body, Disconnected is one of the best resources on this epidemic that I can recommend. First, the film asks, why is this trend towards gender confusion happening now and at such an incredible rate? Activists argue that being transgender is innate. It's present in some individuals, but not others. But that narrative doesn't even come close to explaining the dramatic increase of dysphoria over the past few years. As one teen speaking on the condition of anonymity asked, quote, if transgenderism is biological, why would my friend group of 12 people, one at a time, like dominoes, be realizing that they're trans? The power of this social contagion is particularly powerful given the broader rates of depression and isolation facing teens today. And, as Disconnected argues, there are other cultural factors at work here too. One of these is the cultural saturation of pornography. As Dr. Patrick Lappert, a surgeon who's also written on the rise of gender dysphoria, noted, the average age of exposure to pornography today, for most kids, is 9 years old. Lappert remarked, if a girl enters the world of pornography at age 9, 10, 11, the majority of what she's going to see is women being sexually, horrifically abused, end quote.